comes from. Yeah, oh yeah, it was very popular thing in those days, right? So he says, love them all. Right? And he says, now you even have to go beyond that. He said, now you must now look for those that are just possess a little bloom physically, but have beautiful souls. And he says, you must love them now. He says, you must learn how to love a beautiful soul. So now we have that opportunity, therefore, to draw another soul. All right. And he says, now he takes this idea and pushes it another step. He says, now you have to create such talks that will make young people better. You must develop talks, you must engage in talks, such that will make young people better. Next stage. Now, what you see from this, you see, is going to be an inclusive. It's going to go from a particular individual, stage 1 here, to all physical bodies, right? To include, see, it's inclusive. Next stage. Not only physical bodies, but beautiful souls. Becomes more comprehensive and includes more. He says, then you know what you have to do? He says, you then have to be, now this is where he brings in this idea of contemplation. It's really meditation rather than contemplation. He said, then he says, what you have to do is, you have to then contemplate the beauty of our pursuits and customs. Right? So now, right, now he's moving it wider. Right? Now you have to see the beauty in our laws and our customs and our practices. You have to see the beauty in that too. He says, then what's most interesting, he says, now you have to be compelled to contemplate. Right? You have to be compelled to contemplate the beauty in different kinds of knowledge. Now that's the kind of a college you want to go to. You don't want to go to a college where you just learn something, but you want to be able to, you can't get out of the course unless you can demonstrate that you see the beauty in different kinds of knowledge. If you can't do that, you don't know it. So therefore, right, pursuits and customs, different kinds of knowledge. Then he says, when you've reached that stage, there's an additional, most interesting stage. He said, now, since you have experience of beauty, becoming more and more embracive, he says, now you now have to learn, you now have to contemplate that great ocean of beauty, which you've now gone through steps all, it becomes more and more embracive. You now have to contemplate that great ocean of beauty, and then you have to give birth, see, this is giving birth to talks that will make young people better. This is creating beautiful speech. This is giving birth to beautiful speech. Second, third. Now you have to create such, right? You have to then, it's bring to birth, another bringing to birth. Many thoughts and speeches in the abundance of philosophy. The abundance of philosophy. For what purposes? He said, so then you can gain strength. You can gain strength. Right? You can gain strength for the insight. See, you have to gain strength. Right? You have to gain strength and a certain degree of power in order then to get an insight into the nature of beauty in itself. So what you do, you're a different kind of birth. Now you're bringing to birth many magnificent thoughts and speeches in the abundance of philosophy. What does that do? That has a corresponding effect on you. It builds you up, makes you stronger, makes you more secure. Right? That's right. Meditation. See, that's really meditation. That's what meditation does. That's what meditation does. It's not contemplation, that's meditation. And that's why I needed it. Now, he said, because you will then reach a point where suddenly, and he uses that great word, suddenly you will see A vision marvelous in its nature, right? Suddenly you'll see. A vision marvelous in its nature, which only the mind can see, he says. Only the mind can see it. Nothing else can see it, because it's seeing into the nature of reality. And now he gives a great description of this great thing. This vision into the nature of what we call ultimate reality. Now, he calls it the perfection of beauty. The perfection of beauty. And he says, there alone for man, when he contemplates that, does he discover the meaning or the purpose of life. He says, that's what you do. Want to know about it? He says, okay, that's a perfection of beauty. That's it. And in that moment, then you recognize the purpose of life, the significance of life, and that's what life is all about. He said, but you know what? He says, here's the important part now. He says, you know what? At that moment, and the words he uses, you touch the nature of reality. You touch the nature of reality. Which only the mind can see. And what do you get from that? Then he says something significant, of course. He says, then from that point you can say that the person who's achieved that becomes a friend of God and immortal if any man ever is. Because in that experience, you see, he discovers, when he touches the nature of reality, that it is any different than the nature of himself. He recognizes, therefore, in that perfect vision of the nature of reality, what he's discovering is the nature of his own reality, or the nature of reality, not his own. There's no more his around to talk about possession. And therefore, that's what he goes. And now he says, you know what you do? You must bring it up, nurture. You must bring, what must you bring up? You see, out of this experience, something is brought up. And I'd like to just read you one line, because I like to read it. And it's a nice quote, very simple quote. And then I'm going to go back to that first paragraph and link the two of them together. Remember we said we're going to hold that back? Okay. This is Diotima, his teacher, talking. And she said, this is the conclusion then of the 11th paragraph. Do you not reflect that there only it will be possible for him, when he sees the beautiful with the mind, which alone can see it, to give birth not to likenesses of excellence, since he touches no likeness, but to realities, since he touches reality. And when he has given birth to real excellence and brought it up, will it not be granted to him to be a friend of God and immortal if any man ever is? Well, there's something rather curious. As a result of that, a certain excellence emerges, and it has to be brought up. Now, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? Real excellence, you have to be brought up. You have to bring it up. You have to nurture it. Out of this, there is something then that comes to birth, and according to this game, you're supposed to then nurture and bring it up. Remember we get into here, this curious first? Okay.